This episode of the only podcast about movies was recorded a lot differently. I was off-site, Shahir wasn't there, and I recorded in a room full of 7 people and 5 dogs. Why would we do this to you, dear listener? Well, I wanted to purvey the kind of experience you'd get from seeing the film we reviewed. Enjoy the show. Is up, internet? I have never felt power like this, Besnore. This is the only podcast about movies. My name is Matthew Kroll, and the melodious voice you are not hearing is Shahir Dowd, who is gone because I'm not in the studio this week. I have gone back to my home college town of Fitchburg, Massachusetts to visit a bunch of my friends, and I have them here right now, my own little merry band of mutants put here together to review Xmen Apocalypse. And I just want to go around the room and introduce everyone, because right now we have 7 people in this makeshift studio we've built in a kitchen and 5 dogs. So also, if you hear anything weird, there's that going on. But first, a man that needs no introduction is going to introduce himself.
Hey, this is Matt the Marauder Marchetti.
Oh, you gave yourself a nickname.
I'm going by the Marauder now.
Okay. Who's next down the table?
This is Robin Foster.
This is Kelly Crockett. Stephanie Marchetti.
Dawson.
This is Amy.
And I've known a lot of these people. Obviously, listeners know Robin is my wonderful girlfriend, but I've known the rest of these people for the better part of 10 years. Is that right, people on
At
mic?
least.
Yeah, and we have watched many a film together. So if Shahir can't be here, I would trust no one more than the 6 of you. But before we jump into the wonderment that this film was, and we all have a lot to say, a little housekeeping up top to keep my wonderful New Zealand friend who isn't here happy. If you have an email for us, you can email us at onlymoviepodcast@gmail.com. Tell us if you agree, disagree, etc., whatnot. Also, you can find us on Facebook or at Twitter at onlymoviepod. And yeah, you can find us any of those places. Please leave a review on iTunes. Steph is eating the mic. That's totally fine. No, it's natural, Steph. Most of us were film students, not all of them, and it's really interesting to see the people still. Steph, actually, you told me before. You're like, I went to film school. I know how this goes.
I'm also a film professor.
Yeah, so there you go. So I think this is. Yep, eat the mic. Okay, no one can see this. One thing I want to talk about real quick, guys. Someone who I know all of you very well. Someone who I do not know is a young man who wrote us in named Jacob, who wanted to talk about the last movie we reviewed. Which was The Nice Guys. Have any of you seen Nice Guys? Robin, you saw Nice Guys.
Yes, I have.
So he wrote in this. He says, generally, I'm more like Shahir than Matt. Okay, not an incredibly strong start. But I love indie films, art films, foreign films, and low-budget stuff, etc., etc., and he's a bit of a snob. I don't like Marvel comic movies, and I've never seen any of the Star Wars or Lord of the Rings. Ooh. Yeah. But he doesn't really like big budget movies. But with that being said, he says, I'm totally on Matt's side for Nice Guys, and I'll take it even a step further. Nice. I fucking loved this movie. I'll put some things into a broader scope. He says, I've seen shy of 50 films released in 2006. Out of all of them, The Nice Guys coming in second favorite right behind Green Room. Did you see Green Room, Marchetti? No? So before even listening to the episode, he says he referred to this film as the Big Lebowski for this generation, and he stands by it. Shahir and I got into a big argument about whether or not it would be worth either just rewatching The Big Lebowski or spending money to go see Nice Guys. I said Nice Guys, he said rewatching Big Lebowski. So if it came down to seeing The Big Lebowski, he says, for the umpteenth time on TV, or going to a theater and seeing Nice Guys, he says go fucking see Nice Guys. He can't wait to see it a second time. So that was Jacob sort of weirdly agreeing with me, which doesn't normally happen.
That's great.
So thank you, Jacob. And I'm kind of happy that Shahir's not here to retort to say, yeah, but there's another. I can't even do his accent. I'm not even going to try. But yeah, so Jacob, thank you so much. And everyone else, email us in. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm being an asshole. I feel like Shahir gets a little ganged up because he hates fun so much.
That's true.
Anywho, the Xmen. Marchetti, tell me a little bit about the Xmen. Tell me about your history with the Xmen, and tell me what your favorite Xmen movie was.
Oh, okay. Well, a big comic book fan for many years, and X-Men were always up there for me. Always enjoyed. I liked the offshoots. They had X-Force and everything. It was just a lot of fun to follow the kind of multiple universes and continuities, and I just thought that was kind of a fun thing to do, similar to the Avengers. But
Right.
I always liked the idea of the mutants, the issues of the mutants, and the kind of like real world issues they parallel sometimes.
Sure, especially in the comic books, the X-Men tend to be gravitate towards more mirroring like either real prejudice or gender bias, etc.
Right.
And they've been sort of a figurehead for speaking about those issues in sci-fi for the better part of what 40 years?
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
Something like
Up
that.
there. I'm sure somebody will tell us we're wrong.
Someone will tell, and that's the glory about the internet, guys. Is if we say anything wrong, they will let us know. So when we went to go see this movie all together as a family this afternoon, it became abundantly clear, at least to me, that I don't know if the X-Men's welcome and sort of place in pop culture to be the, how do I put it, the odd man out or the little guy's voice is really kind of still there. This movie, in my opinion, just really quick off the top, it fell sort of flat. I don't know if you could tell from my initial little speech of modifying the quote at the beginning to say boring or snore or whatever the hell I said. But yeah, it's just sort of more of the same that we've kind of always seen. Now, Dawson, what did you think about this overall?
I'm pretty easy to please in general. Like, I like most things. But,
Yes, he is.
I enjoyed it. It was all right. Critically, there are things I wasn't a fan of, but at the end, it wasn't one of those like, man, I just wasted 2 hours of my life.
2.5 hours of your life.
Oh, in that case, then screw it.
Yeah.
No, it was. I would watch it on TV. I wouldn't buy it.
Okay. Well, okay. Dawson's skipping to the end for the final thought segment, but that's good. It's okay. Everyone's green here. Not actually green. I know there's a lot of skin tones in this film. Kelly, get to the mic, Kelly.
I'm here.
Okay, good. Kelly, I've known forever. Kelly, we've seen a couple X-Men films, I feel like, together in the past, somewhere down the line.
Yeah, I'm sure.
What is your favorite of all of the films out there? The X-Men films, not all of the films.
Honestly, I would say X-Men First Class.
Okay.
Right off the top of my head. I can't remember some of the older films as much.
Sure. And where would you
saying
rank
something.
this one in a chronological...
Probably near the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone else have any general stuff they want to say about the movie in general, like about how this film made you feel in the franchise, or to the point of just anything non-spoilery? What do you got, Marchetti? You're nodding your head.
So your question to Kelly about placing them in order, I think I would probably, and this will answer the question as I go.
Right.
But it would be First Class, then X2.
Sure.
Then probably the first X-Men, then maybe Days of Futures Past, then this, then Last Stand. I'm not counting the Wolverine movies. I'm just doing the six.
Okay.
And I think the issues I had with Last Stand and Apocalypse are kind of reversed. I thought the Last Stand was too rushed.
Sure.
And I thought Apocalypse was too drawn out. Just too much.
Yeah.
And did not care for that.
No. It's an interesting quarter we've sort of gotten ourselves into with superhero movies in general, which I'm sure we'll just sort of touch on it as we go. But after this point, ladies and gentlemen, it's hard to sort of talk about this movie without getting into spoilers, because here's the problem that I find, and if anyone disagrees, please speak up. But because this thing feels so generic, you can't look, Batman versus Superman. You can go out and you could be with the majority and be like, this was a hot piece of garbage with like tiny flecks of goodness in it but not enough to gravitate towards, but it's enough to have an emotional, visceral response toward it. Whereas Civil War, critically, so to speak, was more liked and people respected, it seemed, a lot more what Marvel was doing. But this little baby from Fox and Bryan Singer, Jesus, it's getting long in the tooth, and it's not even like powerful enough to feel a lot of like emotion for. Like at first I was like, oh man, like if I hate this I'll rip it apart, but I didn't hate it, I just didn't have any feeling for it whatsoever.
I mean, I just feel like for all superhero movies, like they got the formula down, and I just felt like this was a movie made because of the formula. They just decided to throw it in there like, oh, we know how to make the movie, then let's just make it. But did it give you any did it give you any emotion or any takeaway from it? Not really.
No. And why does everyone at the table think that is? What are the what do you think, because we've seen this done before and we've seen it done kind of better, what do you think, like, what caused this? Is it the sign of the times? Is it part of the production? Is it directors, actors, scripts? What do you really feel like could be the thing?
This is Stephanie. I would say the...
Oh, yes. Hello, Stephanie.
It's me. Listen up. I think the main problem with it is that there are so many out there right now, and it is so hard to do anything original, that when talking about this one, it's hard to have a reaction either way, because it's the most recent one in a zillion movies, and there's nothing especially great about it and nothing especially poor about it. It just falls flat, and it's because there's so much more to compare it to that's better.
Right.
And I think, why take a risk? This formula works. All of us went to see it. Lots of other people are going to go to see it. Why take a risk? And then it's either panned or, not successful. So it's just a formula that works. The public loves it. That's why they keep making them.
It's almost interesting, though, too, Amy. You're right. It's a formula that works. And by works, you mean will make their money back.
Will make money. That's all I mean by works.
Right. And it's interesting because... this is a proven formula that works. Deadpool, for instance, was a formula that did not work, or they didn't think would work, but crowds the internet got it hyped up, and then it was the most successful R-rated movie of all time or whatever. So now what I'm worried about in that particular space, and I've said it before, is that they're going to think, the lesson is, they just want R-rated superhero movies. Let's just go make a ton of those. It's like, no, there's a whole story behind this. It's Ryan Reynolds' passion. It's actually, whatever. This is just another way that they know they'll get butts in seats. And... kind of to Shahir's point, I don't know how much longer, if this sort of stuff keeps happening, it will happen. At what point do people just get sick of it? Or will they ever, this would be the way to get sick of it.
This was the first superhero movie that I watched with you where I felt, okay, enough. I've had enough.
You were just going, come on, at the hour mark. And that's very unlike you.
I was, we saw this at 12:45 in the afternoon, and usually it takes about after 9 p.m. for me to fall asleep in a movie. This one, I started nodding off.
Yeah. Yeah. And that sort of gives the whole thing right there. And I personally, I blame one very few vowels in the man's name, Bryan Singer. He just, he did great at X-Men and X2. And nothing since then has really wowed me. Days of Futures Past was good. I liked it. But then I wonder, is that me liking that film or the fact that I like Hugh Jackman as Wolverine? And that whole movie was so Wolverine-centric, it might as well have been called Wolverine 3. It doesn't particularly matter. If you looked at maybe Captain America's screen time in the new one versus Wolverine's screen time in Days of Futures Past, the title would, you could have that be called Wolverine the same way that was called Captain America. He just doesn't, for a guy that pioneered this genre, Bryan Singer doesn't seem to get it anymore. And I don't want to place the blame solely on him, because I feel like a lot of characters or actors in this film just sort of did their contractual obligation, and the screenplay didn't help anybody dialogue-wise, so it's not like they're given a ton of shit to work with.
But do you think is Bryan Singer under a contractual obligation?
No, this is his bread and butter. This is the thing that he sort of got big and known for. And so he's just been it's like getting trapped in, be careful at what you get good at, ladies and gentlemen, because you will be trapped doing it as your job for the majority of your life.
Because your greatest argument for Dark Knight Rises is that Christopher Nolan was just saying, okay, let's just get this over with. He was just obligated to do it.
He was contractually obligated. I don't think Bryan Singer isn't, if he is in a contract, he probably put it in so he had to direct these movies. I don't think Bryan Singer's listen, I really got to go and do, what's another Bryan Singer movie, Marchetti? I'm trying what was that?
Usual Suspects.
Right, which was great.
Valkyrie.
What was it? Valkyrie.
Yeah.
And Valkyrie was good too, from what I hear.
Apt Pupil was the other one he did with Ian McKellen.
Right.
That's what I think he linked. Either it was before or after the first X-Men.
And you liked his direction there?
I did, yeah. And in the case of The Usual Suspects, for example, he's got a screenplay by Christopher McQuarrie, who's gone on to do Mission Impossible 5 and Jack Reacher. He's doing the next Mission Impossible, I believe. So he's a strong writer. He's got that kind of Tarantino, post-Tarantino-esque style. It's really meta and knowing, and it works. The dialogue's great in The Usual Suspects. I don't think the movie is great because of Bryan Singer. I think he got a lot of the acclaim. I think the movie was great because of Christopher McQuarrie and the performances that came out of the screenplay. And the screenplay in X-Men Apocalypse was not strong at all.
And that makes total sense to me. And we were saying this before too. It's not the plot is bad. It's a generic plot, but it's not like Batman v Superman where the plot just made no sense to a point, and characters do things because we need to move it forward. Like this Apocalypse had an agenda. They set it up fine. He went forth and did it, and then the X-Men had to stop him, and there's interpersonal relationships happening along the way that are basically undermined by its own dialogue, where moments could have had a lot of power, and they just didn't because they tried to either hand wipe like a fucking moment of emotion away or just skip over something entirely. It's hard to talk in generalization. So we're going to start going down the plot of the movie.
Let's
see who hasn't talked the most. Who wants to start? How did this movie start, Dawson?
How did it start?
How did it start?
The Mummy Returns.
Move the mic to you. We only have 4 mics, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. Yeah, it was The Mummy Returns, which Amy pointed out, and then there was
define that. Like define. What do you mean?
It was white English lady discovers ancient Egyptian.
No. Let's go down the line. Steph, how did the movie start?
In the words of my husband, it was Mousetrap.
How is it Mousetrap? It was ancient Egyptian Mousetrap, is what Marchetti
Ancient Egyptian
said.
Mousetrap. Apparently, something about the sun activates some powers in some way, and
yeah, but what's
then
happening?
some people knocked some blocks down and trapped them.
You're not wrong. Let's see if Mark.
The setting was ancient Egypt.
Thank you.
It was 3600 BC.
Oh, see, someone read the title on the screen.
The Nile River somewhere involved, and they didn't even use papyrus font. Yeah.
No papyrus font.
No papyrus font used at all, which is good on Singer.
It's not hair salon from the late 90s.
And the beginning of the movie, we can talk about this now in terms of specifics.
Spoilers are on the table.
The beginning of the movie is old man, grumpier old man Apocalypse transferring his his being to a young, sexy Oscar Isaac.
Consciousness.
Yeah, and he's doing it because the Oscar Isaac character before becoming Apocalypse basically is... he's impervious.
He's Wolverine.
He has healing
they cut
factor.
him and he heals.
So he wants to become a stronger person, so he can't age and blah blah blah. All that fun stuff, and everything goes to shit. This is where Mousetrap comes in.
Yeah, well, it's powered by the sun, whatever this machine is, because the sunlight hits the gold thing on the top of the pyramid, and then all of the sudden, light can go through patterns on the actual stone, and then Apocalypse's consciousness is transferred to the genius in every other film, Oscar Isaac, who is completely wasted behind this fucking... What's the Power Rangers villain he looks like?
Oh, Ivan Ooze.
Ivan Ooze. He's got this Ivan Ooze-esque makeup on. And I will say this, because I've hated on the look just like the rest of the internet has since we saw it in a still, like on the internet. But seeing it move in the movie in certain lighting, I can see where they thought initially this was a good idea. But in other scenes, it just sort of falls flat. You can see the prosthetic on Oscar Isaac's forehead.
To be fair, it didn't fall flat. It was extremely contoured. Like Kylie Jenner came in and did his makeup for this movie.
It was intricate. No, it was very intricate. I mean, I'm sure it took
Kylie
hours.
Jenner.
Oh, did you mess that up?
No, she's real.
Oh, okay.
And unfortunately, I know who she is.
Well, at Guy Code, we'd make you pay $1. No, so the costume itself, it could have gone to a couple other people. There's actually been some stories on the internet. I was talking about this last night that like the original designer for a lot of other superhero movies did a mock-up of an Apocalypse costume that, granted, I don't know how it moved or how it looked, when things were actioning around it, but it looked so much better. And then they went with Ivan Ooze instead, which, sure, I mean, I can't argue with sort of taste, and if that's what the art designer decided, then great, like whatever. But it didn't quite work for me. And to put Oscar Isaac in that role behind that heavy just everything, like you literally just saw the circle of his face, right? And the prosthetics didn't really allow him to emote other than roll his eyes in the back of his head, which happened about 12 times. That's how you know the power's coming. So they get buried, right? Because Mousetrap, what you had mentioned, they knock these blocks away and they slide down into the pyramid, knocking all these pillars across, and the pillar collapses on itself. And the original 4 horsemen that Apocalypse had save him from being crushed to death, and he's buried forever.
Who are very badass, by the way. They get to kill a few guards in the beginning.
Yep.
I thought that was one of the better, like the powers they had. They didn't really specify what they were, but
it was telekinesis. There was some sort of energy manipulation.
One guy just slammed 2 guards against the wall, and they just became skeletons.
Yep.
And it was like, that's amazing, yeah.
Skullatogs.
Skullman from Mega Man.
Yeah, no, I like it. Mega Man 3. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got it. I got your reference. So that happens, and then we're back, I believe, to modern times after he's buried, and we don't know what's going to happen to him, except you pretty much do because you've seen the commercial. We are now going to go magically being whisked away to the house on Magneto Lane. Basically, what Eric Lencher has been doing is basically setting up franchises. He obviously is Quicksilver's father, but he doesn't know that, and now he's moved on to, where was he? Does anyone remember?
Poland.
Well, everyone kind of went to the mic there. Yeah, but just yell it out the second you know. Poland. It was Poland.
He's Polish.
Right.
Yes. Thank you. I mean, he is Polish. And he's basically has a wife and a little girl daughter, and he seems happy. He works at some sort of factory that manufactures sparks.
Works with metal, ironically.
Yes, of course. I mean, he can do whatever. And then. So you just sort of see what he's up to, and it's nice because I will say Michael Fassbender is one of the only one, or maybe two or three, depending on your perspective, people in this film that feel like they actually give a fuck. And in the first third of this movie, he's doing it. He's selling it. Like, you feel that sort of pathos that you felt from across the other two where he's played Magneto. He's an excellent actor, and he's doing so much work with so little.
I almost would have rather stayed in Poland in his one scene for 2 hours and 45 minutes than in the whole world for 2 hours and 45 minutes.
How cool would it have been if this entire thing was from his perspective and we only saw characters when they interacted with him? Like, I mean, that would never happen. I understand, commerce, and these things got to sell toys. Actually, wait, do they have toys?
That would be the best thing. It's like Polish smelt worker Magneto
action playset.
He's just in his overalls, all grimy.
Yep. The action of what happens in the film is a big smelting pot starts to fall, and he saves a worker from it with his magnetic powers. So obviously, because the world is looking for him after the events of Days of Future Past, they just go and tell the police, even though he saved their fucking life. Like, oh, fuck, this guy's really good at his job, and he's a part of the community, but he saved that guy because he's a mutant. And then they all kind of come after him.
Different!
Yeah. Side note, Days of Future Past, Marvel, a corporation who still owned the toy rights for X-Men, purposely did not let them make Days of Future Past toys because they didn't want to interfere with Guardians of the Galaxy toys that they were selling. They didn't want Fox to make more money. I don't know if that sort of goes into this. I haven't seen any toys or any sort of product for this film.
I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, so maybe it's under the same embargo. I don't know. So basically, the cops show up at Magneto's house. His daughter, who you kind of learn a little bit before, who has a mutant ability to talk to animals, and it's a really sweet scene. What are you gonna say, Kelly? You can just talk.
AKA Snow White.
Yes, she had the Snow White mutant ability. You're 100% right.
Another reason I wish the entire movie was in Poland, so that we could just watch her talk to animals the whole time.
And the police want him to come with them, and there's like 9 of them with bows and arrows because they're smart enough not to bring metal.
And rope.
And rope. Lots of rope. Rawhide. And he agrees to go quietly, but then the daughter, who's freaking out, can't control her powers, and a bunch of eagles? Birds?
Sort of birds.
Falcons?
Wait. Is it that
Yeah, get closer to the mic, Andy.
Is it that she can't control her powers? I really thought she was like, I'm not going to let them take you, and I'm sick of these birds after you.
Maybe, but
I feel
but
like
they
it was
did,
intentional.
They did keep telling, okay, whether or not she can control him or not, that's what he said. He's like, she can't control it, she's not going to stop.
It was just analogous to him at Auschwitz, like not just freaking out and doing whatever.
Very much so. Only the outcome here, sadly, was different. Instead of the parents dying, one of the parents died. The mother and the daughter are struck dead by a rogue arrow.
Amazing shot.
Yeah, did you like the way he shot it? He was even surprised, like whoa.
Like he'd never done it before, and he just lucked into basically unleashing a superpowered madman.
For the record, when the Polish police showed up with no badges, bows and arrows, and rope, I said, well, that's par for the course for the police in Poland, I assumed.
That's not true. I'm sure the people that protected surf in Poland are well,
yeah, in 2016, in 1983.
Oh, not in the 80s.
It was Soviet Poland.
Yeah, Soviet Poland. Touche, everyone. Magneto obviously does not take this lying down and kills them all with a pendant, running it through each of their necks at bullet speed that has a picture. What?
It was a well shot.
Oh, it was great. Again, everything here is wonderful. Like, everything with Magneto until he meets Apocalypse is really great. And that's a problem for me even more because that says That says to me in this particular case, I often go on about like, oh, movies that can do one like a bunch of stuff great and fall flat in one spot bug me more than just a meh movie. In this case, that's not the case. This is just sort of just bland garbage like level and great. Basically, craftsmen in this case, actors, Michael Fassbender, and the little girl was great, and so was the woman who played his wife. They elevated a normally just sort of okay whatever scene to something awesome, and the rest of the movie just does not deliver on this promise.
A scene that should have been laughable in worse hands could have been awful. It was handled very well.
And that to me just says like Bryan Singer gets out and he's like, okay, and just okay, your kids are gonna die, and then you freak out and you make that metal thing happen. Go. And because he's Michael Fassbender, he makes it fucking cool. So we leave him after he is basically going to go on a revenge spree for humans again. Meanwhile, Mystique is rescuing Nightcrawler from an underground fighting ring. Let's talk about J-Lo. Let's talk about Jenny from the Block. No.
I would love to talk about Jennifer Lopez over Jennifer Lawrence.
You want to just talk about J-Lo instead?
Yeah. No. I want to talk about Jennifer Lawrence.
So let me just preface this. The views of Jennifer Lawrence that Matthew Marchetti will display in the only podcast about X-Men Apocalypse are not, in fact, the opinions of the only podcast about movies.
I mean, it's quite simply, I think that she's incredibly overrated.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. And I think, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. I think, well, and to be fair, I think some of this is her and some of it is not typecasting necessarily, but just Hollywood being Hollywood and you know, just kind of parading her around like they will. So she becomes, particularly in this movie, but even so in Days of Futures Past,
right.
She becomes basically like Mystique a la Katniss Everdeen from the Hunger Games. Where
there's a real fucking, and again, who knows if that's the production's fault or her fault.
I don't think it's her fault in that case.
I mean, even down to her super suit they get tailored specifically for her by someone who doesn't even know her. It looks like Katniss's final battle armor in the last two Hunger Games movies.
It does indeed, yeah. I just don't see what the big deal is, and I loved Winter's Bone, whenever that came out. It was 2000.
Winter's Bone.
Yeah, which is hilarious. Maybe, yeah. But
Book of Shadows.
Either way, it was a great movie, and it was great for other reasons, but she was very good in it, and I
right.
think she's just a young actress, and I think people are putting her in a lot of movies, and to me, she's kind of revealed herself as being not all that fabulous, in my opinion.
Is that everyone's opinion at the table?
I've pretty much had it with her.
Oh, well, okay.
That's my wife.
You've had it, Steph? You've had it?
I just think she plays this, like, stupid feminist that she's not, really. And also she's cast as the same role over and over and over again and just doesn't seem to care to try anything new anymore.
Fair enough. Anybody else? J-Law. Going once. Robin's up.
I mean, if you think about just who can play what roles, and like today, she's kind of like this perfect storm to be able to fit these roles. Like, yes, she takes these roles that I feel are just too old for her. But when you come to think of it, you think about like, well, who else could play that role? It kind of falls on her, and I don't know if that necessarily is her fault, but she's just very lucky right now. And I feel like in 5 to 10 years, she's not going to be getting those roles. Even Anne Hathaway once said, like, I'm not getting roles anymore. I'm deemed too old for roles, and J-Law is just getting them now, and it's not going to happen for her. Maybe it will.
So she's not going to become like a Helen Mirren or like a...
I was just about to say, she, like, Kate Winslet, like, so gracefully fell into adult roles, and it just doesn't feel like J-Law's
Did she, though? Did Kate Winslet fall gracefully into adult roles? She didn't work for a while after Titanic on something.
But maybe that's what you need to do. Maybe you need to do your big, giant role, and you blow up so much that you might need to go away for a little while and come back as something better.
Remember, too, she got married, had some kids, and I think she took some time off.
Right. I'm not knocking Kate Winslet. I think what she's done with her career at this point is wonderful. But I think that's an excellent point. Is like you have your big movie, you become a household name, but Jennifer Lawrence has been pretty much mainstream media since what? Since what was the first thing that really put her on the map? Because it wasn't Winter's Bone.
Yeah,
it was Winter's Bone.
Yes.
That was the thing that everyone's like, oh shit,
it was
she's
the Bone
of
of Winter. The Bone of Winter.
The Bone of Winter.
Which it is a good movie.
Yeah.
It's just weird, like where does that take place? Like the Ozark Mountains, like this weird film noir with weird white trash rednecks. It's a great movie, and it's made even better because of her performance. Because she's not showy. She wasn't J-Law at that point. She was just this actress that no one knew. I think.
Well, I think that's another big difference with her and Kate Winslet. Kate Winslet didn't have this like crazy public persona where everyone feels like she wants to be people's best friends and she's being crazy on all these late night shows. Like Kate Winslet didn't do any of that. So I feel like it's a weird comparison maybe.
Let's talk about this then, because Kate Winslet became a star in an age where social media wasn't a thing. In order to be a star of that magnitude now, you kind of have to do something. Now, I'm not saying the path that Jennifer Lawrence took, but you have to have some sort of presence, right? So is that Jennifer Lawrence's fault, or just the fault of the time she was born in?
I mean, if you look at it though, like, what is it, Olivia Pope or whatever? Who's this super?
Kerry Washington?
No. The super Olivia Pope is definitely the
Olivia
wrong one.
Pope.
What's her name? Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
not
the
her.
character
Who's
in
this
Scandal.
that super hot girl that was like engaged to a prince or something that you love?
Olivia Wilde.
Yeah, like she's good. I'm so off. She's good in everything she's in, but
Who
she's
else could
not
it be?
everywhere in the media.
True.
You know, so I think
And she's quirky and funny
she's quirky
does
and she's
weird
weird
things.
and she's kind of cool.
She takes
and
different
she's
roles, though.
gorgeous,
But
but
she's
she
not a-
takes
she's
really
not a
varied
stuck-up
roles.
bitch.
And she's
Whoa.
not all over social media.
Do you want another drink, Marketing?
But she's also a little bit older, and I feel like she's not gonna talk about how drunk she was at whatever party she was at. Like
That's
she's
fair.
just gonna take a little bit more of a high road.
I think I don't have a problem with Jennifer Lawrence because she has proven she can act. Winter's Bone. She's proven she can act, right? I even will say in Silver Linings Playbook.
The same could be said for Adrian Brody with The Pianist, but
I mean, touche. But no. In all seriousness, But I will say that, she, I feel like, has become a victim of her own public persona, and whether or not that is her fault, I cannot place. Granted, everyone is in control of their own destiny, and you ultimately can. But like, I could see it's easy getting washed up in this nonsense. And since you've become you're the quirky one or whatever, and not to mention everyone's fucking telling you how much they love the smell of your farts, like it's gonna go to a person's head. The thing about this film and her in particular is she's contractually obligated to be here, and that feels like the role she's playing. She's playing Mystique, who signed a contract to be in 3 movies, and this is the 3rd one, and please God, can we be done by now? Which I can't blame her, because that was the same feeling I was having around an hour and 15 minutes into this movie. So again, I'm agreeing with her. But the problem I have is, from a work ethic standpoint, yes, we understand you don't want to be in the blue makeup the entire time. It's a pain in the ass to get in that bodysuit. Yes, we understand this is your 3rd movie and, you don't want to do it. And you don't have to do this movie anymore. I feel like, First Class, she didn't have to, but it was kind of another way to get her name out there. But now that you've signed this contract and we know you can act, I take it as an offense to me going to buy a ticket. Not just seeing you phone it in so fucking hard on a character that probably has more depth than 90% of superheroes. So like, that to me is a greater offense than her sort of public nonsense she does.
I mean, it's not even that offensive, her public nonsense. It's just like, think about the Brat Pack in the 80s. Like, they just became famous and got all those roles just for doing stuff that was way worse.
True. So, I mean, again, I'm saying I think I like her as a public person, but this movie has made me respect her work ethic far less.
Agreed.
Yeah. Marchetti, any final thoughts on J-Lo before?
yeah, no.
You were so fired up before, buddy.
Well, because you could just get into it, and I said what I had to say about her. I don't care for her. I don't think she's a poor actress. I think you hit the nail on the head with that last comment about work ethic, and I think that also offends me greatly. And the person you were talking about not that long ago, Michael Fassbender, who has less to work with in this film, I think, in some respects, he knocks it out of the park and takes a shitty screenplay and makes something out of it. And that's because I think he's like, well, I'm going to be in this. I'm probably contractually obligated to be in it as well, and I'm going to give it everything I can because I care about my work. I look at my resume later and I go, I want to give a shit about this. Yeah. And I don't know that Jennifer Lawrence really cares necessarily about her resume.
I agree. I want to say one more thing. I think she's in 2 huge franchises right now, and I would gander like that was probably a mistake being in 2 giant franchises.
Oh, 100%.
And she's just tired, I just think she's ready to move on. So a little bit in her defense.
I mean, I get it, but you know what? I'm tired on Thursday too at my job.
Yeah, she's also bringing down tens of millions of dollars. So do your work. I work hard for shit money, and she works not hard for great money.
It's not even, and I just feel like it's a choice. I don't think she is unable to work hard or work well. It just seemed like she didn't want to do it. Whatever. We all have those days. Am I right, guys?
Yes.
I wish I got paid $10 million on the days I didn't want to go to work.
We all have Jennifer Lawrence days. We will now refer to them as Jennifer Lawrence days, where we just don't feel like it.
Well, speaking of people that just don't bring it home in this movie, we're moving on down the plot to Rose Byrne, a.k.a. Moira McTaggart. Oh, what's up, guys?
I'm a CIA agent.
Okay.
I'm Moira McTaggart. I don't even have an accent.
Nope. But the most...
She's supposed to. If in the animated show you can have a woman speak with a Scottish accent, the actors should be doing the same thing.
She accidentally, in her CIA bumblings, she finds a cult that is basically looking and worshiping Apocalypse, doesn't put a rug back over a secret entrance into an underground cavern in Cairo, and the sun hits the chasm or whatever, and it supercharges him, and it lets Apocalypse out.
Right, this is what Dawson was referring to earlier, and I think you were thinking about in the Mummy where they use the mirrors. Yeah. And that's very similar. I'm like, why? But they wanted to do that. At least they knew they were trying to do something with the mirrors. And this, she's just stupid.
Yeah, I was just making a fact that it's the white American woman who starts everything, and then she does nothing else. She's useless for the rest of the movie.
She says she's a CIA agent like 5 or 6 times.
She flew the plane at the end.
Yep, that's right.
And then she crashed the plane, I think, too, right? So, never mind.
I don't want to dig on Rose Byrne. I like Rose Byrne, too. I think she's...
she is good in anything else.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's just very funny that,
She's very funny.
Yes, she's a very funny lady.
Like being vampy funny. I think she's really good.
If she wasn't in the movie, would anyone have missed her? Would anything different have happened?
No.
Well,
the whole movie wouldn't have existed because she didn't put a rug back.
Yeah, that is true. Apocalypse is
she could have
back.
left. That could have been the only thing she did.
Because she has a kid that was mentioned once in one photograph, and then she just left.
But instead, she pistol whips the guy who's in charge of putting the fucking rug back.
I mean, get your shit together, Egypt. A rug? Seriously?
No, the rug is the only thing that stands between the world
him
ending and Charles Xavier losing his hair.
That's it.
Oh.
Oddly enough, getting back, he'll need a rug now at the end of this movie
because
it's all about rugs. Anyway, what happens next? I'll give $1 to anyone who can tell me what happens exactly after this point.
Is that when Xavier shows up and then they go to the CIA and... that happens.
And I think you are right.
Pipeline.
And that's a good, actually, one of my more the scenes I enjoyed the most because it was funny watching Xavier bumble through his relationship. James McAvoy.
James McAvoy's great. I don't know. He's really, really good.
Yeah, he's another I'll give you
$1 after the show.
Thank you.
He gives this kind of fast bender. I think he has the same kind of mentality he does. He's like, I'm gonna just do the best I can with it. I'm gonna give it my all, and he's just charming and enjoyable to watch perform.
Yeah, he goes and they have that weird sort of mind raping story about how he took Moira's memories away so she wouldn't report the Xmen and he could still have his school, and then they have to act like they don't know each other or he doesn't know her, blah 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 blah. And then he brings her back to the X mansion for no reason. All the while, the little X babies of Scott Summers, Jean Grey, Nightcrawler, and who else went with them? Jubilee, yeah, who does nothing. Jubilee finally in a film looking exactly like Jubilee, and she doesn't even get to make any fireworks. That made me sad.
I was speaking about that earlier. It was depressing. At least have her do something.
Right.
So they shoot some fireworks in someone's face at some point.
And all the while, I think Marchetti, you put this the best way. Apocalypse is now awoken and going around and doing his best Ocean's 11 impression, and trying to get the band back together. First stop on that whirlwind tour was Storm, who was in Cairo conveniently, and she was stealing or something.
Yeah, she had her Aladdin moment.
She did. She had a super Aladdin moment, and I gotta say, I want to find the actress's name, Alexandra Shipp. S-H-R.
She spoke to us at the beginning of the movie. That might bear mentioning.
What was that?
She spoke to us at the beginning of the movie about. Remember?
Please don't
there was a little thing about it.
Oh, she said, "Please don't pirate this movie," without saying, "Please don't pirate this movie."
Yes.
I have no problem with that. People are assholes. But she, I thought, was a great young Storm. She was, again, given nothing to do.
Yeah.
I think that's what it. I think she had the ability to be a great young Storm, was given nothing to do.
Right.
With it.
Well, the second that Apocalypse sort of had his thrall across any of them, he gotta catch them all, guys. He collects Storm, he collects Angel, turns him into Archangel with the metal wings, which we can talk.
Who did nothing?
Metal! He was listening to metal while his wings turned to metal. Very apropos.
Do we know the song he was listening to?
No.
It was Metallica's "The Four Horsemen."
Was it really?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Bryan Singer is just a clever motherfucker.
Bit on the nose on that one.
Then, who else? Oh, Olivia Munn.
Right.
All right, hold on. Listen.
Done.
What was that?
Olivia Dunn.
Wow.
Like I'm done.
We also just not forget the plot point of Storm having Mystique's poster on the wall.
That's right.
And why the hell does Mystique have a poster?
Okay, so Mystique in this universe, in the cinematic universe of the X-Men after the events of Days of Futures Past, has become kind of like a freedom fighter for mutants.
She's the Mockingjay.
Yeah, she's Mystique Everdeen. Mystique Everdeen.
Was it Future Past or the first one? When he's like on the White House lawn.
No, that's Days of Futures Past. Yeah, no, she volunteers as tribute. She's the one. She's the chosen one. No, I can't argue with that. That's sad. That's sad, guys.
Yeah, just something that didn't. Well, we can talk about the Mystique thing later or now, but
Do it now.
do it now.
Right now.
They didn't take that anywhere.
No.
They took that nowhere with her being like the hero of the revolution in this movie.
No.
She was supposed to be, and even in the trailers, she was promoted as being the one who's going to bring them all together. And
Sure.
she does. She kind of gets the kids to do their thing at the end. She talks to them.
She's been trafficking mutants out to like save them from getting out of like fighting pits and shit.
She sees like a bit of her younger self, even though she's not much older than them, in them, and it kind of works.
Sure.
But then it gets to the finale, and she does nothing. She makes like one grandstand play against Apocalypse, gets choked out, and then who saves the day? Well, a few people, but we can talk about that later. But she ends up not being the one to do it in the end, and then it's just kind of. I don't know. I feel like they if they were going to do the Katniss thing, they should have just went all for it. And they didn't really.
I feel like it's, again, this is, we were complaining about Jennifer Lawrence's performance in this movie, but she's given nothing to do but speeches. Like, she's just giving speeches about how she doesn't want to be the hero, she doesn't want to be the hero. Fine, I'll try to be the hero, I fail at being the hero, and then you're not students anymore.
For the record, I wasn't complaining about her performance in this movie. I was just complaining about her performance in life.
Oh, wow.
If I was like her supervisor, she would have a lot of red pen on her evaluation at this point.
Okay. All right.
Can we talk about Olivia Munn's costume?
Sure. Let's talk about Olivia Munn's costume.
They ran out of
Olivia
budget before they
Munn's
got to the
buns.
pants.
So the theme.
Let's get all the jokes out of the way about Olivia Munn's costume.
So the themes for these four horsemen, I felt, was called College Sexy or College Halloween.
Yeah, that's great.
It was just like Apocalypse came back to life after hundreds of thousands of years, and was like, you know what we need? Sexy horsemen. Let's give them all
And then he
thigh
builds
cutouts.
it. You see him building it onto, I think, Angel's shoulder at one point. He's just caressing his.
Why was he like tattooing Angel's face? He like tattooed his face with this
Because
weird
Archangel in the
circuit board
cartoon and the
BS.
action figure in the comics has marks on his face.
So they were just like, we're gonna make him look more like the comic book.
Yep,
and that was
probably.
It.
I saw an interview with Mike Tyson.
Problems.
Was like, I want that.
Yeah. Fun fact about Olivia Munn's, a.k.a. Psylocke's costume.
Sword hands.
Oh, yes. My friends have nicknamed her Sword Hands. And what did we call Nightcrawler?
Batboy, I believe.
Like
Yeah.
from the National Enquirer?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Batboy found
I
an
think
attic
that's
somewhere.
unwarranted, but, whatever. Olivia Munn's character, there's the thing. Adolescent boy me is like, okay, yeehaw. But the thing about it is...
Adolescent Boy You sounds just very like I was Adolescent Boy Me was in that theater when she first came out in that whatever the hell she was wearing.
But the thing is about what she's wearing, this is what I'm saying. It's the only costume in all of the X-Men films that is almost entirely accurate to her comic book persona.
Yep.
That's how Psylocke looks in the comic book, where everyone else is muted out in either the suits that Apocalypse gives them or black leather randomness.
You mean Pam Anderson bathing suit with a cape?
It's like a bathing suit, but then it has like the leg things and whatever the fuck her top. I don't even know, but it is what her costume looks like.
But I think the really unfortunate thing is there is nothing else to evaluate her on. She does nothing else in the movie. She has like almost no lines. So
She has the least amount of speaking lines out of any major character. in
right,
that
which
movie.
makes me think a lot of her stuff got cut out for some reason. So then you just have to have an opinion about the costume, which is easy to have an opinion about.
Sure. And there's that one cool scene where she cuts the car in half. But then, like, what I don't understand about her
Saw it
powers
in the trailer though, so
Yeah.
it doesn't.
is so in the climax of this movie, which we'll get to in a little bit. She's Psylocke. She fights with one real katana and one sort of plasma katana. She has. Do you know her actual power set?
It's like psionic wave,
Hard light construction.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
She uses a whip too, which just
Does she do that in the comic?
No, I don't remember seeing the
Well,
whip.
this
at
is
all,
my
yeah.
thing. She eventually fights Beast, and she turns her blade into a whip because they realize probably in a fight scene that's longer than a minute, Beast can't fight someone with a plasma sword. So she makes this weird sort of light whip, which again, if it's made out of the same shit her plasma blade is, wouldn't that just, it wraps around his neck at one point, I'm like, and she whips him into a wall, I'm like, his head would just come clean off.
Cut the car.
That was a problem I had, that Power's only sort of serving the script, and that kind of happened a lot through the plot, especially with Quicksilver, who Quicksilver was sort of great like he was in...
I think he acted really well in it.
In Days of Futures Past. The only character with some levity, like some true sort of on-purpose levity. I feel like Professor X had some moments with Moira, but the more I'm talking about this, the more they just... Amy, you and I were talking about sort of females in superhero movies in the car. I feel like we've just been shitting on the ladies
Yes.
but in this movie in particular, but I'm trying to think of I think the girl who played Storm did great, but was given not enough to do. Jennifer Lawrence didn't want to be there. Olivia Munn, I feel like, could have pulled off a better... Actually, I don't know what it could have been because they didn't give her fuck all to do. And then the only other main female character, I'm not counting Moira because fuck that. That was just dumb as shit. And then the last character is Jean Grey, played by Sansa Stark herself. Sophie Turner. Yeah. Let's talk about her real quick. What's everyone's thoughts on that?
When you were saying before you wanted the whole movie to be in Poland, or at least just revolve around from Magneto's point of view and all the different character interactions, that's what I thought after the movie about the Jean Grey character. And I understand that couldn't happen, but
why not? I mean, it's the same reason why I couldn't for Magneto.
And Sophie Turner is not big enough yet to capitalize the movie around or whatever. But if you saw that whole movie from her perspective, she had a really interesting arc. She was well developed. She was the alpha in a lot of situations, which you don't see with a brand new character, especially a female.
Right. Well, the weird thing about that is she's a brand new actress playing the character, being reintroduced into whatever side bullshit timeline. I don't even know how this fucking thing works anymore because the X-Men, First Class was supposed to reboot it and not be about the old class and whatever, or the old cinematic class. And then Days of Futures Past is pretty cool. And then they mixed them, and now you're well, I don't know what the fuck is real because it doesn't make sense anymore. She's the first Jean Grey on film. Who played her first, Marchetti?
Famke Johnson.
And I like Famke Johnson, but I don't think her Jean Grey was particularly great. I think it was fine and it was serviceable.
She wasn't Jean Great.
She was... Zing! Dawson, he just got your $1. I only have $1. And now I have to give it to Marchetti for that pun.
You can get it back if you do.
Yeah, if you think of some puns. But Sophie Turner was great in this movie. I think she's my sort of definitive Jean Grey. And I had real trepidations about seeing her in this role because we haven't really seen her in anything other than Game of Thrones. And I do think she's a good actress there. And again, I feel like it would have been interesting to see it from her perspective because if you think about it, it could be she's brought to this school and then more students come and then she makes friends and then, oh fuck, someone invades and kidnaps the professor from the basement and then it's her wacky adventure. It kind of turns into that for half the movie to get him back.
That'd be like a Nickelodeon version of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like a bunch of preteens living their life.
Sexy preteens.
Yeah, sexy preteens. I can't argue with. I would like to see the Nickelodeon version of that. I feel like
Xavier's Degrassi High.
It's the battle for the dollar.
I think a lot of this comes down to the same point, though. There were a lot of individual moments that, had they been developed correctly, could have made a good movie, but none of them were given enough time to develop correctly. So altogether, it was a hot disaster mess. Magneto's whole storyline could be really great. Sansa Stark's storyline could have been really great. And Professor X is always good, but together it just didn't work as a script and as a direction.
Yeah, it couldn't balance all the plates. They just kept crashing down, and people kept picking up the pieces and being like, "Look, it's still a plate." And you're like, "I'm not eating off that."
I like that. I don't know.
You like that analogy?
I don't know if it makes sense, but I really like it.
Hey, half of my analogies are really fun to hear, but then if you think about them for more than 5 seconds, they just crumble like everything that Apocalypse touched. What?
Like the plates.
Like the plates. See? There you go. Full circle once again. So let's see what else happens here in this wonderful film. Apocalypse steals the professor, and then Havoc accidentally kills himself, blowing up the mansion, which is supposed to be a big and powerful moment, and it almost is until they instantly cut to Quicksilver running to the X Mansion to supposedly find Magneto. He just decided after seeing him on the news from the 70s. Right?
Yeah,
That's the one I didn't
10-year
get.
anniversary.
They're still showing the same news clip of when Days of Future Past took place in the 70s, right? I'm not crazy.
10 years later.
73.
This is 10 years later, this movie.
Yeah.
Correct.
Is it really?
It's a 10-year anniversary.
Well-
of
It was a
the-
10th year
Oh,
anniversary.
that's why it was on the screen.
That's why I said 10th year
But
anniversary.
no news crew wanted to fly to Poland to film new footage, so the TV just had to put the 70s back on.
The picture, Magneto, the picture that they show every time is Magneto with his hand up making like a little like pinchy
crushing your
thing.
head.
Like a crushing your head thing with your fingers. And Morchetti keeps going every time, Matt, you saw it on the screen, you're like, this close.
This close. Almost had it. It was almost a good movie.
So Quicksilver decides to go find his dad finally and runs up. But like instantly at the point, like this huge moment happens. And I understand sort of why they had to do it this quick. But what song they did played during
Sweet Dreams by the Eurythmics.
Sweet dreams are made of these. Yeah, that one. He runs to that song, basically mimicking his scene in Days of Futures Past, which everyone loved. And I was just like, well, this is cool looking, but it's also just sort of fan service. And also, side note, he's the fucking, like, his powers just break the whole damn movie in a weird way. And I'm glad that during the last scene, again, spoiler, he starts fighting Apocalypse and doing it very cleverly, like just sort of running too fast for him to handle. But then the second Apocalypse realizes what's going on, I was like, oh, I'll bend his knee the other way. And then he can't do shit.
I think he like traps him in the mud, and then he just like he fucking stomps his knee.
He
Like
stomps
again,
his knee
we'll talk
at a
about
90-degree
the fist fights,
angle the way it's not
the way
supposed
the
to
fist
go.
fights happen, but
Yeah. But in this scene, he saves all of the X-babies and puts them all on the lawn while the house blows up. It was beautiful. I mean, it's a CGI's demo reel Wet Nightmare or Wet Dream. Wait, they're so close. For me, it's weird.
Wet Nightmare
guys.
sounds.
A Wet Nightmare. It's a wet nightmare. This whole movie's a wet nightmare. No, it's not. That's
the
thing.
name of
I wanna
the
keep
band
making
Apocalypse
singers.
was forming, by the way.
What was that?
That was the name of the band, the metal band. I was trying to think of the name of the metal band he was forming when he did that's that Wet Nightmare.
I like it. No.
Wet Nightmare.
I'm not even gonna get into it. I feel like I want to keep making like zingers and attacking this movie, but I also don't care enough to do it. Like it did enough right and it did enough wrong where I'm just like, meh. Anyway, then what you think should happen is, they have to go find the professor because Apocalypse and his Ocean's 11 went and stole him. But instead, what happens is Weapon X comes down with young fucking Stryker. What's his name? General Stryker, Agent Stryker, Corporal Stryker, Colonel Stryker.
I'm Colonel.
Colonel Stryker.
Was Major, now Colonel.
Oh, thank you. Poland. What was Psylocke's name? What'd you call her?
Sword hands.
Sword hands. Okay, I'm gonna try to speed this along. What should have happened here is they go to wherever the fuck Apocalypse was and bitch slap the hell out of him until the end of the movie. Psychic fistfights, which we'll talk about last. But instead, the Weapon X program with Colonel Stryker come and take away certain members of the X-Men after they like psychic bombed them down or whatever. And then the X-babies who weren't valuable enough, Jean Grey, Scott Summers, and Nightcrawler, like stow away on their ship and go back to the lake where the Weapon X program happens from X2, where Wolverine is being held. Now, this whole fucking thing was a 20-minute aside so we could see Hugh Jackman somewhere in the goddamn 80s. And while I loved that scene, like, I thought it was really, really, really great. And it's always fun to see Hugh Jackman let loose as Wolverine. But aside from fan service, this is the kind of thing that if it wasn't Hugh Jackman would have hit the cutting room floor so fucking fast, like in the script phase. Did everyone else have sort of, yay or nay? Who wanted to see this in this movie?
I always want to see Wolverine, but only if it's Hugh Jackman, exactly what you said.
Right.
If it was anybody else, I would not have cared
So
to
it
see
wasn't
that.
a deal breaker for you.
No, but it did nothing to advance the plot at all.
Right, of course.
I actually thought the one part of it that I thought was important was Jean Grey's interaction with Wolverine, because it sets up like her touching his face, sets up at the end her touching Professor X's face. and it also sets up their relationship that you know
Later
is
on or
coming
before.
later.
My problem with it is that it's what sets up their relationship, but it bums me out because there's this super young girl, but Hugh Jackman has gotten older over the course of filming these. And it's supposed to be like they have this powerful, cool love situation, but it creeps me out in the vein of this movie because she's so young.
She just like reads his mind, so their love isn't actually based in love. It's based on like just her reading his mind.
Well, that's the problem I have
it's a little creepy
with Professor X and Margaret's sort of relationship. Anytime you bring mind manipulation into a love story, it gets fucking weird.
I like to call this scene Sansa gets her direwolf back.
Yeah, I mean that's nice. Oh, Marchetti. So at the end of the scene, after there's a lot of face touching, what happens with Wolverine, Marchetti?
He has no dialogue, which we discussed.
Which
a
is
little
fine.
About,
And he's in the Weapon X suit, which is cool to see.
So he's
kind of
like
that's iconic
like out of his
in comic
mind.
books.
The Weapon X thing looks great. He goes to town on all these army guys. And it's awesome, and it also highlights another problem I have, but I'll get to that in the end. But at the end, after the mind melding and all the love starts to happen, which worked very well, unless you overanalyze it, he just opens this door out into this frozen tundra, and he just runs away like this like baby child who doesn't know it, and that's it. And I think we all just started laughing, and it wasn't like a chuckle. We laughed like enough to annoy people in the theater because it was just so utterly ridiculous.
It was really dumb,
and it just didn't work. And this movie's filled with moments like that, like
undercutting itself, like setting up something awesome and then like never sticking the this movie doesn't stick one landing.
Nope. I think I recall the moment when Havoc destroys the Blackbird and then Beast like poses before the explosion, like he puts his hands up, and I remember Robin was laughing, hysterical, and it was so bad. Like you can tell they just needed to cut it like half a second beforehand and just show him like shielding himself, whatever. But it held too long, and it was just ridiculous looking, and it was just like that, very similar kind of scenario. However, the Wolverine scene was I would have been fine if it just was the rest of the movie. It was him just murdering army guys, because the biggest issue for me with the movie, other than Jennifer Lawrence and biggest issue with me, even if the movie was boring or didn't had a lot of plot holes or whatever, is that anytime there was an action sequence, it was fairly boring. Aside from
very boring.
The Quicksilver sequence was great. However, we had seen it before.
Yep.
The Wolverine sequence was like they actually put some time into choreography. And this is where Bryan Singer, action choreographer Bryan Singer.
Hey, if you put any sort of action sequence in a dark hallway or sub-basement, he fucking kills it.
It's good.
He can deal with not Hollywood, what was I trying to say? He can deal with hallway action scenes very well.
I just feel like it highlighted what a little TLC in a sequence like that will do, in terms of just let's throw a lot of special effects this way and that way, and it gets numbing, and I just want to watch Wolverine tear people apart, and that's what he got to do for 5 minutes or so.
Yeah.
I think the Quicksilver scene is a good microcosm of the problem as a whole. It's like, people like this, so we'll do this. Okay, how long did it last time? 3 minutes? Let's make this one last 7 minutes. So it's like, people like it, let's do it a lot, past the point of where it's fun anymore. And that's kind of like a lot of the problems with the movie, where it's like, somebody liked this once, let's do that a bunch.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's a problem with Hollywood in general. But you're right, it's like a microcosm, just sort of things thrown it in your face. Like, oh, you want this? How about more of this? So they rescue the X-Men, and then they know where Professor X is, because the Apocalypse makes him on like a mountainside tell the world that the Apocalypse is coming. And
the Sermon on the Mount, by the way, there's all this religious stuff going on. Oh. It's actually one of the more interesting aspects of the movies if you analyze it through like biblical.
Well, what do you mean? Just the fact that he's giving a sermon off.
He's
of
like
the
preaching literally on a mount. It's Egypt. I mean, it's just it's on the nose, but at least that's fitting with the character.
But then this sort of falls into the major problem that we've encompassed, is like there's all these other interesting moments that happen, that we watch them happen, and then the camera's like, we're done here, let's move on to like garbage, to the same generic cities getting destroyed by Apocalypse's sort of they don't really know what power he has, because he has all the powers, like he can just. But then again, that was also Magneto like ripping up the earth or some shit to like destroy cities. So we saw a couple different.
He can move tectonic plates now.
Yeah, well, because Apocalypse super juiced him after giving
Apocalypse
him
just uses. He looks like he's using the nano machines that they used in the first G.I. Joe movie. Basically, it just looks like that same special effect.
Yeah, it's this particle sort of nonsense, and we see like 3 major cities and a port like go down. Oh, we didn't even talk about the most pointless thing: the first time that Professor X is in Cerebro looking for Magneto, and then Apocalypse is with him, and he senses him, and Apocalypse takes over Cerebro, but I thought he didn't have mental powers. So how the fuck is Apocalypse taking over Cerebro? And then he uses Cerebro. Before him and Charles Xavier mind meld, he gets into Charles's head. So then he convinces the entire planet to launch nukes, but not at anything. They launch the nukes into the sky to what? To what end did that matter?
Apocalypse doesn't like machines and technology. He wants to rip the world apart himself. That's why he did it. It just wasn't well explained. That makes sense. If he's ripping the world up from the tectonic plates, we probably should get rid of all the nuclear devices. Yeah. Too bad he didn't have the ability to jettison all nuclear reactors and experimental power sources, but fuck that noise. We'll just take the rockets into space. Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Yeah. Thank you, Michael Caine.
Can we talk about every time they cut to the American government?
Oh my God!
Who's firing those missiles? The men. The men are.
Every time you see the government say something, it's for a single line of poorly written exposition. They think will move the plot forward, but breaks the pacing so hard that everyone in the theater laughs.
Thank God our prayers were answered, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. What the fuck? It seems like Magneto helped stop this. God damn it. So let's talk about the big ending. Basically, Magneto's ripping up the world. Mystique and Quicksilver try to talk him down, and Quicksilver doesn't tell him that he's his father after all, which is a big fucking stupid bullshit. The big fight at the end is the pure reason why I think Captain America Civil War works. They had a big fun fight sequence at the 2/3 point through the movie, and then they kept the actual sort of feeling, the real sort of emotional mass for the end with a smaller sequence with 3 characters fighting in an abandoned place. And that had more weight than an entire city being ripped apart and 9 characters basically in a fucking Royal Rumble going at it outside of Apocalypse's brand new fucking pyramid.
With statues.
With statues. Gotta have
Giant
statues.
statue of himself.
Yeah. I mean, listen, if I had the power, we'd be sitting in a room full of statues of me.
I believe there were 3 statues of him in there when it panned around.
Well, it was Angel. He had statues of everybody.
Yeah, it was the other.
Did you notice that the Apocalypse statue he was kind of sitting casual though? He had one leg out a little bit, one leg in. He's
chilling.
Like the world's best boss kind of guy. He's like you're like I'd work for him. He seems cool.
I was on the fence, and then I saw this statue in his office, and I was like, this is a guy I could have a beer with. So they start to do this transfer of power. So basically what Apocalypse has been doing throughout the centuries is taking powerful mutants and basically moving his consciousness into the other body to steal their powers. He's going to do that with Charles Xavier, a.k.a. this is why he's bald. His hair starts falling out as the process happens because reasons. And then everyone's fighting outside. And then how does it stop? What happens? Mystique tries to trick him and it doesn't work. He beats off Quicksilver. Not like that. Don't get gross. And then... what happens?
Nightcrawler steals Xavier.
Nightcrawler steals Xavier and puts him back on the jet. There's a fight in the sky. Kelly?
Magneto sees Mystique being held up by...
That's what snaps him out of the garbage. Magneto comes and Apocalypse is like, you've betrayed me! In 16 different reverberating voices. He's like, I betrayed them. And then I'm talking like Ian McKellen all this. Run. Fly, you fool.
And then Sophie Turner opens up her power.
So let's talk about the Phoenix moment, because we're almost through and we got to wrap this up in a minute. So everyone knows here, maybe you don't, but people that have sort of followed the X-Men and comic books, that Jean Grey is either the Dark Phoenix or she's insane enough to think the Dark Phoenix is a thing that she is. We see the fucking Phoenix Force in this, and it's the thing that turns the tide against Apocalypse. So... we've seen the Phoenix Saga in the worst of these X-Men movies in X3 when they try to combine that with the No More Mutants plotline to fucking laughable effect. And the Phoenix Force has always been a very interesting sort of thing in the comics for me. They've done a lot of fun stuff with it that sort of does, it's the right amount of power and weirdness, and you're not sure where it comes from. I love the fact you're not sure if it's an actual extraterrestrial entity that's possessed this psychic girl, or the psychic girl is so powerful she's insane and invented this sort of being in her brain. Anyway, you sort of see the birth of that here, and I liked it.
Is it is she too young to be the Phoenix in this movie, though? Is that time appropriate?
Yes and no. I mean, she's always sort of had bursts of power, and I like how it wasn't overly overt.
In the alternate timeline, I think it's okay.
Is that what happens?
80s time, I think it's fine.
But you see it's sort of in the shape of a bird, but I like the fact that You know what I loved? And I was half expecting this fucking movie to do this. Someone or Apocalypse being like, the Phoenix Force. Or like someone just fucking announcing it, but no one does. And it's just, oh, fuck, she's a pyrokinetic and she's fucking shit up. Like, all right, I'll take it. She just hit her ultimate in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and now she went from Wei Fu to just totally wrecking the entire board. Yeah, and then the end happens, and then Professor X gives Moira's memories back, and then they like fall in love, kind of, but don't. And then
he unmind rapes her.
He unmind rapes her. If only everyone in the world could be unmind raped. And then what else? What else happens?
Magneto and Professor X make up.
Yeah, make out. Yep.
Make out.
Yep. No, they make up. There again. It's that same scene we've seen 9 times where they like have a little bit. It's the same dialogue from the first movie.
Goodbye, old friend.
Goodbye, old
They
friend.
rebuilt the school.
Oh yeah. The end. So the X Mansion is totally destroyed by when Havoc kills himself so unheroically. And the X Mansion, they show a scene as a hand wave of Magneto and Sansa looking at each other and like knowingly like, yes, we're doing good. And like Magneto's moving metal to build a structure, and she's like moving planks with her mind. And I think you and me looked at each other, Marchetti, were like, that's not up to code. Like that's not gonna.
My thought process was like, who's doing the plumbing? Who's checking on this?
Yeah, and you know what? That could have been hand waved away from me if Beast was standing there with blueprints, being like, yeah, sure, the bathroom's there. Like, oh, by the way, I do want to say we've been talking about good performances and whatnot. The dude who plays Beast, Nicholas Hoult. I love him. He's a phenomenal actor, and he really stuck out for me in Mad Max, but also in all the stuff he's been in.
Warm Bodies.
He did the best he could in this movie with what he was given.
Yes,
He's good.
yes, and he's been great in honestly all of them.
Yeah, he's aw shucks likable.
Yeah.
I like him.
So they build the thing back up, and then Gay and hooray, Apocalypse is dead. How did he die? He just melted away from the Phoenix Force?
She stripped his everything off.
And he was like real happy about it. Like,
Storm helped out at some point. She
Storm,
said
They all
that.
did. Cyclops.
Storm was the most underutilized person in the fight because she like hides for half of it.
Because she's upset because
Mystique's there, and she doesn't know who the
her
person she had
hero.
that small poster in her hovel is doing there.
That's right. And she's like, oh, maybe Mystique is with the good guys. I don't know.
This is the thing. Every plot point in this movie that is not part of a tangent makes sense. And like that is a moment where played well or given the right time or direction could play out. But again, I go back to my plates analogy. They're just crashing on the floor and they're like, is this still a plate? And you're like, no.
And it also seemed ripe for the opportunity to like have an interaction between those two characters. And there isn't. It's like you're just
Nope.
left.
Did
like,
they
oh,
ever
no.
interact in the movie?
Who?
Storm and Mystique?
No, they do not.
Right. Like at
Until the
end,
very end in the goddamn danger room. I'm like, oh, great, robots. And now they're going to fucking fight the robots because they're in their fucking Avengers lineup.
I did have one other observation. I don't know if anyone else noticed, but you know the pattern on the gold cap of the pyramid that like when the light shines on it, it like goes. That same pattern was in Magneto's helmet. Like on like the detail of the side.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was on the side of like the plastic part that went over his head.
It's the same sort of shit. It's the same type of design. Look, I will whether or not you liked Apocalypse's design, the style of the design of this movie, the intricate work that went into all of the costumes. I feel like the costuming, if you're gonna go this direction, they really made it like happen and come together. Like the
I applaud
Horsemen
them
felt
for
like a unit.
making like a practical suit for him rather
Yeah.
than like Ultron or doing something like where it could have just been Oscar Isaac's voice.
Yep.
Which might have looked better, but I feel like if you're an X-Men fan and you know, like you wouldn't even need to know. You can watch that movie and have no idea it's Apocalypse, and you would know who it was pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I feel like so in that sense they did their job.
Sure.
It just I think the impression is fine. I just think the details don't work.
Yeah. All right, so that's basically X-Men Apocalypse. Guys, I want to go around the table, and this is basically it. You can give like a one-sentence sort of final thought, and then just say if you think people should spend their money and go see this movie, or how you think they should see it, or should they even bother seeing it at all. We'll start with Marchetti.
I didn't like it. I didn't hate it. I would say wait to watch it at home and watch it in sequence with First Class and Days of Future Past. Like watch it in a row.
Good deal.
Boring. Pass.
Okay, good deal.
Overall, just I probably would watch it on TV, but I wouldn't buy it.
Sure.
If you've somehow never seen a superhero movie, then you might not mind it. Otherwise, I would wait for the television rerun.
This one's metal!
Just pick it up at Blockbuster.
Nice, Dawson.
I would see it on a discount night for the effects on the big screen. And also, let's all hope that Sophie Turner follows Kate Winslet's example and not Jennifer Lawrence's
Well,
example.
there you go. Yeah. All right. And I would honestly say, I only go see this in the theater out of franchise obligation, and that's a fucking awful thing to say. Like, look, Fox knows they have my money. Now, granted, we went to a matinee and it cost $6 a ticket, so fuck you, Fox. But it's just like, I can't in good conscience tell you, like, this is a great time at the movies. Go see it, because it's not. It's a time at the movies. You'll spend time there. And at the end of the day, it's a perfect example of what, this superhero fatigue thing that Shahir kind of talks about, where it's coming from. It's cool on occasion, but it's nothing you haven't seen before. And it's kind of I've been calling it the cinematic equivalent of where stereotypes come from. Like, this is the example that everyone will point to and be like, superhero movies are dumb. And you're like, but that's not all, hashtag not all superhero movies. Like, come on. Yeah. So that's sort of it. I guess the vote is don't go see it. And that makes me sad.
Just wait till one of the 110 degrees and summer days and catch a matinee.
When you really need air conditioning. Guys, thank you so much for being here with me. Is there anything anyone wants to plug? Again, we'll go around the room. Or where can people find you on the internet if they want to agree or disagree with you, Marchetti?
Oh, this is nice. You
want to talk about you for a minute?
Now I'm really
How you
nervous.
doing? You back?
Yeah. Well, you can find me. I'm not going to talk about it. I started writing some reviews on a website of our friend Steve's. I don't know if he's been on this.
Yes, he has. He's on Same Night Movie Review with Steven Buja, who now has a great podcast called Oscar Watch. I don't know what they talk about other than they say it's Oscar films, but it's impossible because we're the only podcast. You should probably check it out and let me know what it's about. You can find that on iTunes as well.
So I wrote some reviews for that site, and then it became just too much to write these lengthy reviews, so I started transferring my reviews to quicker reviews on Instagram, so you can follow me at movie_matinee with 2 T's.
Nice.
Matinee.
Yeah, I really like those too because they're reminiscent of what Steve and I used to do for Same Night on Instagram. We used to do 15-second movie reviews that took way too long. They were neat, but like didn't get enough across and not enough people saw them. But the writing on your stuff is phenomenal, and I really enjoy reading them.
Thanks,
when you come out.
I try to write like horror movies mainly, but also newer movies and also Scooby-Doo films.
You hit a lot of genres on there, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Robin, you can find her at the dog park.
Well, you can always see me at the dog park, but you can also see me on Instagram, Robin L. Foster, ROBINLFOSTER, and Twitter, fosterchild_32.
There you go. Kelly, where are you?
I'm on Facebook. I really have nothing to plug.
Nothing?
I really don't.
Make something up.
The Truman Show on Instagram. It's all about my dog.
Okay, good. There we go.
It's a hashtag, not a handle.
Hashtag Truman Show. All right, Steph.
You can find me on Instagram at Sandpaper Glue. I write a DIY and home improvement blog at sandpaperandglue.com, which has nothing to do with movies at all, but you can watch me paint furniture and stuff.
All right.
And you can see pictures of me in states of undress putting together a home theater setup in our basement, right?
No, it's an excellent, what would you call it, a crafting a home improvement blog?
Yeah, I say DIY and home improvement because I use power tools like real women.
There we go. Rock and roll. Dawson.
Yeah, I don't do anything interesting.
Yeah, we don't use the internet.
And Amy. Okay, you guys are just going to be mysteries to them.
Use the internet all the damn time.
But if you want our opinion, you have to talk to us in person.
So hunt them down. That's right. Find them. Yeah, and for me, you can find me at MatthewKroll.com. You can also find me on Instagram at Skeletor, the number 4 PREZ, or on Twitter at EmperorMSK. Guys, this has been the only podcast about X-Men Apocalypse, and it's something that happened. I just want to say this last. It was a line from Magneto after his family got killed, and it said, he was screaming to the sky, and he says, "Is this what you want from me? Is this who I am? Is this who I am?" That's the exact question I have for Bryan Singer when he showed me the movie we watched today. Do you want me to be like this? Is this how you really want me to be? Anyway. Fatality. Guys, thank you so much for listening. We will see you next week. Say bye, everyone. Bye everyone.